Here we are again, and I don't know why Shane keeps doing this. I've already predicted it, which I thought he would learn by 2021 when he was talking about the Surface Duo, and the same thing with the OnePlus Open that I had in October of 23, then the Google Pixel, and I was right about all of those. So what he's saying right now is that they're gonna make this. We'll just call it for all intents and purposes, the wide, which is the Fold 8 wide, and then the Fold 8. And this is basically the same version. Now, this is not the actual model. It's the Fold 7, but I'm saying it's going to be the same narrowness. Now, if you know, I would insert the clip, but you just can look on my TikTok or my YouTube. I've bought and purchased and then returned the Fold 7, and there's many reasons why. And no, it's not about, I've had the other phones before. I had the first foldable. We've had the Google Pixel, the Microsoft Duo, like all of them, the OnePlus Open in 23. Like, there's videos of it. You just have to go look. And the reason I say this is because of the narrow. Now, I saw it in store twice before I purchased it. And the reason why is because I had seen this and I thought, well, if it was just wider, and this is the Fold 6, when I was looking at it at the time, and I said, well, this model here is going to be perfect, I thought. And that's why they sold so many of them, that's why they sold 6 million. But as soon as I purchased it, within like probably 3 months, but before that, there was a lot of back and forth between the usability. So like a lot of the apps are not, once you open it, it's a beautiful screen once you open it, but once you check out, and you have to, it's different when you look at it on media, or like you look at it on the TV and different publishings. But then if you go in store versus actually owning it, within 2 days, I thought this is going to be great. You get up all the settings. It just, the software between some of the apps that I use, and it could only be one app, but even that one app that you use, it's so crucial that that app works. And if you know the Samsung software, it's just so bloated with, you can literally, which is great for features, but you can literally tweak any sound, any system notification, any, by the minute, literally, or even by the second, of which you want to turn on, which noises. So in that sense, but it gives you so many options that, for example, Apple's iOS, right? So like we're talking about the iPhone, well, they're going to come out with a foldable, and with the foldable phone that they come out, especially for the iPhone, we already know how loyal probably Apple users in any product, they're probably the most loyal brand. Anyone that has an iPhone, they're going to stay with an iPhone. They're not going to switch. They're going to stay. And then not only with that, is now that they have a new product and it's going to be their first foldable iPhone, people are going to rush towards that because they want to be the first ones. And also, once their upgrades do, they've never looked. Most people that have iPhones have had iPhones for 10, 20 years, and they're not going to switch. Now, even coming to that point, it's the ecosystem. If you have an Android phone, any of these Android phones that you see, like if it's Google, if it's Motorola, if it's OnePlus, if it's Oppo, any of these brands, even the Samsung, they don't stay in their ecosystem. Any Android phone, they usually don't. They'll have an iPad, or they'll have another brand for something else. Hardly ever see them stay and stick, even with the watches and just all the accessories. So with this, I already know. And for Shane, for some reason, he keeps coming back to this. Like, Samsung is not in competition with Apple. They're not even on the same page. And that's the issue. You can say that this phone, the Fold 7, sold $6 million in 12 months, right? You can say that. But they never talk about the real numbers, right? Like they just, these are expectations. This is what we call perceptive marketing, right? Where you give out a number, say we sold 2 million products within the opening of whatever quarter. But really, when you look back at the numbers, which it's already been almost a year, the numbers are actually half that. It was actually 1 million. And yes, that might sound like a lot, but that's globally. That's not just in one market, one country. It's global, 1 million. So look at how many countries there are and then split that million up. It could be 50,000, 100,000 units in the entire country. So that's what I'm saying. And you can say, yes, it's 6 million in a year. But how many people, if you look up the numbers, my next question for you would be look up the numbers. How many returns were there? And it's not 10%. Would you believe it was even 25 or 30%? No, you shouldn't, because it's actually over 50% were returned. And that's staggering. And they won't tell you those millions of these Fold 7s that were returned within 14 days of the return policy. And I am one of them included, because once I started using it and the software, yes, it has a beautiful 8-inch screen. But once you open it and you start doing certain things, going on web browsers, playing games, some of them are optimized for that. Others are not. And I know it's going to be a huge letdown for people that thought I already knew, because I've had these phones before, that they're thinking like, oh, you're going to have you open up Netflix or you open up a streaming app and you think that you're going to have watch all this content. And then you find out really quick that, hey, the screens are like the same size. All I have to do with the slab phone is just put it in landscape mode, which is just turn the phone sideways, or I guess would be horizontal. And you find out very quickly that it's the same size. And even with the same size, you look at the price. And when you start looking at the prices, and man, this phone costs $2,000. Man, this phone costs $2,400. And you look at and you say, well, what's the benefits from this? And you look at your 6.7, 6.8, 6.9 inch screen and jump from an 8-inch, it's not worth double. You could buy a lot of stuff with that. You could buy a brand new phone, plus buy a gaming console like an Xbox or a PS5 right now, plus be able to buy any type of tablet on the lower end, and even an iPad at the lower end. And someone is not going to buy if you look at that bait and switch, who's going to buy this phone or that phone? And I know what he's talking about. He said if you look through his video, he talks about how they're probably going to put out 1 million or 2 million and then put out another 1 million or 2 million on this in the opening or the grand opening of releasing these phones. That's not going to work out that way. There's not going to be 12 million sold. Even if they try to phase out maybe the flip, it's not going to work, because we all know the Apple Fold is coming. And all the people that are Apple, which is literally 80% in the United States market, they're not going to do that. And the people that have these phones, it's their years coming up. A lot of the people that are in tech, they're going to switch. They're going to try something new, because I'm not just saying Apple, but then there's also Google. And Google has, to be honest with you, I had the Fold 7. And when I tried out the Google Pixel, since it's a little bit wider, they're wider but shorter variant. Their foldable phone, the Pixel 10 and even the Pixel 9, it's actually better. The dimensions are. So when when Samsung thinks that they're gonna just have a flood in of new followers, of new buyers, of new customers, that's just not the truth. They're just waiting and expecting, because of anybody, it's just common sense. You're going to sit here, you're going to see a product. This is the only product that was there last year. Now, because Apple should have came out with a foldable phone. Now they're finally going to come. They're finally going to take it or leap into this competition. And there's going to be a huge following, and they're going to switch. People are going to switch because they want that ecosystem of what Apple software provides them. And the reason I returned it, because there's a list of issues with this phone. and it's not even worth half the price.